In the novel 1984, George Orwell envisions a bleak, dystopian world where technological advancements allow the party to maintain strict control over both its leaders and the masses. The protagonist, Winston Smith, resides in Oceania, a superstate ruled by the principles of English socialism, known as INGSOC. Alongside Oceania, two other totalitarian states, Eurasia and Eastasia, are perpetually at war. Within Oceania, the party is divided between the inner party, the ruling elite, composed of ordinary citizens. The party's leader, Big Brother, is omnipresent, with his image, dark hair, strong moustache, displayed across London, often accompanied by the slogan, "Big Brother is watching you." Winston works in the records department of the Ministry of Truth, where he modifies or destroys documents to ensure that the party's version of the past remains unchallenged. The evidence is disposed of via memory holes, where it is incinerated, erasing any conflicting history. The Ministry of Truth is one of four ministries: the Ministry of Love, which handles political prisoners, the Ministry of Peace, which oversees war, and the Ministry of Plenty, which manages the production of goods, such as Victory cigarettes and Victory gin, all of poor quality. Winston secretly despises the party and longs for privacy, freedom, and love, thoughts he must keep hidden to avoid imprisonment or death. As the novel opens, Winston begins writing a diary in his modest apartment, aware that the telescreen, broadcasting party propaganda and monitoring his every move, could expose him. He reflects on his life and the party's violence, aware that these thoughts could lead to his execution. Winston endures the daily 2 minutes hate, where citizens express rage towards Oceania's enemies. Though repulsed, he participates to avoid suspicion. Increasingly curious about the past, Winston secretly revisits a junk shop where he bought his diary. The shopkeeper, Mr. Charrington, shows him a room above the shop, sparking Winston's fantasy of living free from the party's surveillance. One day, Julia, a dark-haired co-worker, slips Winston a note confessing her love for him. Though shocked, Winston is excited by the prospect of a secret affair, as the party forbids sexual pleasure and controls marriages. With great caution, Winston and Julia meet in a secluded forest, discovering their mutual hatred for the party and eventually falling in love. Winston dreams of overthrowing the party, while Julia is content living a double life. They rent the room above Mr. Charrington's shop, continuing their affair in secret. Their lives take a turn when O'Brien, a high-ranking party member, approaches Winston, hinting at his involvement in an underground resistance. Winston and Julia visit O'Brien's lavish apartment, where he turns off the telescreen, a privilege of the inner party. O'Brien welcomes them into the Brotherhood, a group allegedly dedicated to overthrowing the party. However, during Hate Week, Oceania's enemy shifts from Eurasia to Eastasia, and Winston must work long hours to revise all references to the war. Later, Winston receives a book from a mysterious man, which he reads to Julia in Mr. Charrington's apartment. The book reveals the truth about Oceania's history and the party's objectives. As Winston reflects on the hopelessness of their situation, a hidden telescreen in the room reveals their betrayal. Mr. Charrington, a member of the Thought Police, exposes them, leading to their arrest. Winston is taken to the Ministry of Love, where he realizes that O'Brien was never part of the resistance but instead works for the party. Winston undergoes brutal torture, forced to confess to various crimes. O'Brien breaks Winston's spirit, convincing him that his memories are flawed and that the party is infallible. The party seeks power for its own sake, O'Brien explains, and will always prevail. Eventually, Winston is subjected to the horrors of Room 101, where he is confronted with his greatest fear, rats. In a moment of utter panic, Winston betrays Julia, pleading for the torture to be inflicted on her instead. Broken, Winston submits entirely to the party's re-education, losing his sense of self and love for Julia. Released back into society, Winston is now an empty shell, spending his days drinking Victory gin and playing chess. He encounters Julia once more, but their love is gone, replaced by mutual betrayal and indifference. In the novel's final moments, Winston, fully rehabilitated, gazes at a portrait of Big Brother and realizes that he truly loves him. This chilling transformation exemplifies the terrifying power of totalitarian regimes to reshape reality and erase individual identity. In George Orwell's 1984, the novel paints a grim portrayal of a totalitarian regime where the party exerts unyielding control over all aspects of life. The story centers on Winston Smith's struggle against this oppressive system, his brief encounter with hope, and his ultimate fall into despair. Here are some key points from the novel. Totalitarian control. The party uses technology and propaganda to monitor and manipulate its citizens. Class division. The inner party controls the state, while the outer party and proles are kept under strict surveillance. Historical revisionism. The Ministry of Truth alters historical records to fit the party's current narrative. Repression of individuality. Personal relationships and thoughts are controlled by the party to prevent dissent. Betrayal and re-education. Winston's journey from rebellion to total submission illustrates the party's power to crush resistance and alter reality. These elements underscore the novel's exploration of authoritarianism, the fragility of truth, and the erasure of personal freedom. Thanks for watching.